Alright, today I'm gonna have to straighten the rear end of the bike up. So I'm talking about from there to there, but in order to achieve that I need to modify this section of the bike. For some reason, I don't know why it's got that downward slope over there, but that's in my opinion, I don't think that looks right. I've seen a lot of other built bikes out there, and they seem to be running with that angle like that, and look, you know, each to their own. In my opinion, I don't think that looks right. So what I'm gonna have to do today is basically remove this part off the bike, and weld a new piece of tubing that goes from this corner to that corner all the way straight. In order to achieve that that line from the bike, I'll need to lift the tank up a little bit so that I get that straight line from under the tank that follows all the way to the end. So how I'm going to do this is lift the front of the tank up around say 20-30 millimeters, give or take. Once I lift the tank up, the bottom of the tank is going to drop down, which will reduce that angle of the bottom of the tank. I'm hoping to try and get that angle as flat as possible. Once I do that, that'll give me an indication on how much of an angle I need to recreate this section of the frame. So I'm going to basically chop that bit off from there and there, get rid of that bar in the middle, and recreate the frame using, you know, mild steel tubing. So the idea here is to try and have the frame as level as possible so it blends in with the rear hoop. As you can see, the hoops right there, which I'm going to be welding at the end as well. So first things first, I need to modify this section first here and recreate that frame in the middle, and then weld a hoop at the end. Now how I'm going to do that is right behind this, or underneath the BMW logo, is the bracket that holds the tank in place, or the tank from moving around. So what I'm going to do there is cut that off and lift that bracket up, like I said, 20-30 millimeters, weld it in place, and that'll give me the base to start on the rest of the bike. So this is the bracket I was talking about. This little rubber thing slides into the little brackets in the tank, and that keeps the tank from moving around. So what I'm going to do here is obviously remove these rubbers like that. They just slide off. This little tube right here, I'm going to cut that off there, create some sort of bracket, and weld it up here, and re-weld these tubes. Not these, I've got something else in mind that I'm going to use. Re-weld it onto that bracket, which will obviously lift the tank higher from the front. So what I've done is I've used something just underneath there to lift the tank up, and now it's created that straight line on the back. I've also used the tubing that I'm going to be welding on. I'm not sure if you guys can see that right there. So that's basically the line that I'm chasing. Now I'm not too fussed if I don't get the line completely dead flat, like some cafe races or, you know, trackers and stuff like that. The plan is, if I can even ever so slightly get, you know, a little bit of an angle, that'll add the that'll still be cool. I'll be happy with that. So yeah, I'll give you a closer look. So that's basically the angle there that I'm chasing. Obviously this part here is going to get welded up higher. I can only do all that once I have the tank sorted out. So yeah, let's get into it. this is basically how I'm going to do it. I've just made this little bracket. I've just welded that on the top. I've left that bit off because I just think it's a bit too long, so I'm gonna obviously chop that off, but that's basically how it's going to be. I'm going to weld both sides and then relocate this to the top here, which will give me approximately about 25 to 30 mil once it's all done. I think the next step would be cut this off, this excess bit, because I don't think I need that. Weld it into place, make sure it's level, weld it all into place, and then relocate these up here. So this is basically where the bracket is going to rest. Once I remove these two off, I'm gonna weld the rubbers on top of that, and that's where it's gonna be. Now I had to push this back a little bit more so that the handlebars don't hit the tank. If I was to weld this bracket in the same place, I'm gonna have less turning clearance basically from the handlebars. So to overcome that, I'm just going to push this back just a tiny bit and then take it from there. So what I'm using here is just some 10mm stock bar. I picked it up from the hardware store for around, I don't know, I think about $10 for 2 meters. So I've just cleaned it all up and it's going to sit in this little groove right here that I've created. 10mm basically fits into this little rubber bushing that keeps the tank in place. So that's the whole idea now. So once I mount that on there, I'll weld it up and cut it to length. Alright, now that the tank's where I want it to be in terms of that angle, time to get rid of this weird angled bar right there in the middle and recreate that starting here all the way to that corner right there.